going, guys? It's Evan St. Fort with St. Fort's Funeral Home. Thanks for checking out this video. I've been getting a lot of questions from a lot of different people about just different scenarios, especially with COVID recently affecting us. I've gotten a lot of calls about just how to handle certain things, and so the reason for this video is really just because I want to kind of like just educate a lot of people. You know, death is not something that any of us deal with frequently. So the reason for these question and answers is so that I can better help you to understand how you could handle the process if something happens, right? So one of the first questions that I got was, is a casket required for a cremation to take place? So for those of you that don't know, cremation is pretty much the process of taking someone and really just kind of like cremating the individual, and we would just condense that person's body into ashes, right? And it's done through a crematory, or some people might call it an incinerator. But the question is a casket required? So in most cases, no. It's really just personal preference. Now, the state of Florida does require us to have the individual in some sort of container. So if you don't purchase a casket, then we'll place them in an alternative container, and usually that can, be from like cardboard or some simple kind of wood. And usually your funeral home will provide you with that if you don't purchase a casket. So to answer the question, no, a casket is not required. Now, you can cremate an individual in a casket if you do choose to do that, but it isn't required. Okay. The other question is embalming required for cremation? No, it isn't. When it comes to embalming, that is strictly to do a couple of things. Embalming is one, a preservative. It helps preserve the individual so that the human remains can last for a long period of time. A lot of individuals typically use embalming for the reason if you're going to have a visitation, right? If you're going to have a visitation for family members to come and see that person, or if you're going to have a funeral service for people to come in and see that person. And also what embalming does do is it kills any living organism in the human body. Embalming, what we're typically doing is replacing the bloodstream with formaldehyde. And as I've said, formaldehyde is a preservative. So that's technically what embalming will do. And not to get too gory, but embalming does also, believe it or not, help out with the appearance. You've probably seen in movies or just some sort of scenes where when a person passes away, what happens is you'll notice that the skin typically turns grayish or a darkish color, and that's because of the blood coagulating. So when you embalm an individual and remove the blood, and then inject the individual with formaldehyde, the color gets back into the person's body, and you'll see like they are kind of like rejuvenated. So embalming does help out with the appearance of an individual.